Hey guys, what's going on today? Today we are actually going to be removing the carburetor and we're going to be setting it back to base settings and we're going to tune it. I want to show how to tune a Weber 3236, I think it's DVGA carburetor, and it's a genuine carburetor. It was not a clone. It's been pretty good. I like it. There's a couple things that I want to retune on it. It's been good for about a month, but I feel like it could be better. I don't feel like the choke's engaging properly. I don't think the tune on it is as good as it could be. So instead of trying to tune it from what I have, it's going to be easier to take it off and just reset the tune. It's not that hard to do it. The engine is warm right now. The problem is my engine takes a long time to warm up, and the electric choke doesn't do a very good job at that. It's actually a pretty awful system if you ask me. I think a water choke would be much stronger, and at some point we will be putting a water choke on it, but it's summertime and I don't need a water choke in the summer. It doesn't actually matter that much summertime, but maybe in the fall and spring we will. So I'm going to take this carburetor off. It's very easy. This isn't an install, this is just a tuning. So take it off, and if you're installing one and you want to tune it, this is a good step for you. You'll be able to do that through this process. But for starters, again, we have to just remove it and get it on the bench. Alright guys, we're back, and here is our carburetor. It has been removed. It did not take any more than 15 minutes to remove it. That's really good for me, so I'm pretty happy about that. A couple settings. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some stuff going on here that we got to work on. You know, I haven't taken it to a tuning shop. I probably won't. I mean, there's very little point for me to do that for my truck. I mean, it's not a very high performance vehicle. It's a Jeep J10 with a 4.2 liter. It probably makes 100 and something horsepower, maybe like high 90s, to be a little bit more realistic. So what I'm gonna do is, so that way I can let the choke just reset and cool down, as I'm actually going to take out the choke. Point this down a little bit more there so you can see it. And then I'm going to grab my paperwork that says what I should be doing. I know when they say to disengage the choke or when it's fully warmed up, so my base settings will be without the choke, with the choke disengaged, per se. Yeah, like, I don't know. There we are. Choke's out. I've actually replaced the choke bolts before. The screw heads are really hard to get to, so I ended up going with hex heads, and I really like that. Because again, choke wasn't working too correctly, so there we are. And just so that way we don't destroy the gasket surface, there are, we can use this to wipe off some stuff here. I mean, look at that. That doesn't move very well. So, for starters, I can just start to back out the choke adjustment, and there we go. So that'll freely move again. That's what we want. Now I have to look at what it says and how it says, but well, we'll figure that out in a couple minutes. Alright, so for the mixture, the screw, I'm sorry, is right down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it in all the way until it bottoms out. Okay, so there it bottoms. Okay, and I actually have a screwdriver that I use just for carb tuning, and As you can see, this is all the way open or disengaged. And now I'm going to turn it out 2 full turns. So that's 1, and that's 2. Okay. Now our speed screw, which is this one here, needs to be out about 2 turns as well. And this one can sometimes be tricky to get to, but it looks like we should be able to access it right as we are right now. Alright, so it's screwed all the way in, and we need to turn it out about 1 to 1.5 turns. So we're on 3, and we don't, well, yeah, we're on 3. And we don't want to destroy the carb seat, so once it sits, that's it. No more turning, don't force it in there. So 1 turn that's half a turn, that's 1 turn, and then if we want to do another half. So I'm going to go in between 1 to 1.5, and that means that I'll be on the 4 mark. So I know that currently I'm at 1.5 turns on it. So because I have paperwork, I'll be able to, when I'm done, mark it down. So alright, so we're at 2 turns for the mixture and 1 to 1.5, so we're at 1.1 1.25. That's what we're at. And that's out and out. I just want to make sure I tell myself that. So, looking through this again, making sure I'm doing everything right. Setup adjustments. And what we should do is we should grab the instructions for the choke real quick. So I'm going to go print out the choke instructions. Alright, we have a troubleshoot guide which tells us about our choke. It tells us to always clamp stuff, and so it has some good information here. But let's head over to the choke. Alright, it says to check automatic choke, we need to have this coil below 20 degrees Celsius. Or, okay, so 20 degrees Celsius, or it says 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So, well, it says it's 84 degrees Fahrenheit. We will go cool this down then. Alternatively, get a little baggie of ice here and stick that on there. It might take a minute or two here, but it should cool down. Alright, so we're at 72 degrees. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I think that'll be fine for it. It's going to get a water choke anyway soon, so I'm not too worried about it. So this goes together on this. I have my little screw here. And this just fits over that little lever. I guess it'd be smarter if I did it like so. So that fits over the lever. I'm gonna get it here. There we are. And as you can see, as I rotate this, it adjusts the butterfly. So, okay, so that's seated all the way in there now properly. You can turn it all the way one or the other. But before I adjust that, I gotta get this plate on. And I just have to start the bolts to it. That I ran in a little bit too much. Alright, and now all I have to do is I have to adjust this butterfly until there's about 1/8 of an inch peaking. And I would say that is probably not 1/8, but maybe that is. I would say maybe that's an 1/8 right there. So we're going to keep this in. Mark it here. Okay. And then we're going to take our paint pen. We're going to make, just so that way I'll be able to see it, one mark across. And that's how I know that was what my setting was. Maybe I'll draw it out there. That way it kind of lines up. So that's the setting I'm going to have for the choke. I don't want to over tighten these because I could destroy the threads, but I don't want this to go anywhere. So actually, the reason I replaced these with hex was because I had a set of these vibrate out from the factory and my choke got messed up, and I've never had that happen before, but it did, and that was quite a shock. Okay, so, and then all I have to do now is adjust the fast idle cam. So, I want to cycle our linkage, of course, to maybe see if we need to readjust this any. So that's going to heat up a little bit more. So I kind of expected that. Okay. Okay. Well, now we just have to adjust this fast idle cam a little bit. My screwdriver will get in there. There we go. And it's just going to touch. There we go. Just going to touch that, and then, so it's not on. All right. So, baseline settings. This opened up a little bit more just because it was cold, but if I push it down, you'll be able to see that's where it'll sit when it's in the temperature range. So that's where it'll sit. Okay, so now I can go and reinstall it. It's at baseline settings. And that's what we will do. Reinstall it, and I'll get back to you real quick.